सहना भवतु सहनौ पुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ओम बोलो स्वामी सद्गुरु शिवानंद महाराज की जय। ओम बोलो स्वामी विष्णु देवानंद महाराज की जय। हरि ओम तत्सत। I offer my pranams to the lotus feet of our masters. I pray masters give us all the perfect understanding. It's Swami who speaks. It's Swami who listens through all of us. Hari Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. We are entering into chapter 8. Chapter 8 is Akshara Brahma Yogam. Every chapter is given a title to help us to understand the chapter better. So this chapter is Akshara Brahma Yogam, which is called Yoga of Imperishable Brahman. Yoga of Imperishable Brahman. Adi Shankaracharya, in his commentary, he calls this chapter as chapter 8 as Yoga of Concentration. Our masters, they call it as Yoga of Imperishable Brahma. So the earlier chapter, which was giving us details about Jnanam and Vijnanam, the knowledge and wisdom. This entire Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 groups. The first group will have 6 chapters. The second group will have 6 chapters. The third group will have 6 chapters. It's all based on the Mahavakya Aham Brahmasmi. The first 6 chapters that reveal, Lord Krishna reveal to us Aham. What is the self? Aham. The next 6 chapters where we are in now, the Bhagavan reveals what is Brahma. The following 6 chapters from 13th to 18th, it would be on oneness. We'll talk about it later. So Bhagavan has started explaining what is Brahman. From the 7th chapter, we have gone through in the 7th chapter, which was talking about the supreme reality, the 2 type of prakritis, the para prakriti and apara prakriti. Bhagavan is telling, know me completely without any doubt. I will clear all the doubts. Know me completely without any doubt, without any assumption. So apara prakriti is matter, para prakriti is that consciousness, which is the life element. So this consciousness and this matter, they together is our entire life. The game of our life is the consciousness and this matter. So everything, whatever we see, it's all matter. And the one who is seeing that matter is that consciousness. So the matter do not have the capacity to see, to recognize, to feel. No, the matter do not have any such capacity. So it is the consciousness, that para prakriti. It is the consciousness which is the witness for that matter. So this consciousness and this matter are the twofold nature, twofold prakriti of that supreme reality, Brahman. So in the 7th chapter, but in the last 2 verses, Bhagavan has introduced us with few terminologies. What are those terminologies? Brahma, Adhyatma, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyajna. Bhagavan ended the 7th chapter, Lord Krishna ended the 7th chapter with this following 2 verses introducing us to these new terminologies. So Arjuna, on this 8th chapter, he begins with a question. He asks for the clarification of these terminologies, the new words that Lord Krishna has introduced. With this background, we'll get into chapter 8. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Ashtamodhyayaha. Slokam number 1 and 12 are taken together. Arjuna Vacha. Kim tat brahma kim adhyatmam. Kim karma purushottama. Adhibhutam cha kim proktam. Adidhaivam kim uchyate. Adiyajñah katam kotra. Dehesmin madhusudana. Prayana kale cha katam. Nyayosi niyatatmabihi. Arjuna Vacha. Arjuna is asking, Arjuna has said, O Purushottama. Purushottama is the name of Lord Krishna. Purusha Uttama. Uttama means the best. The best among everything. Purusha means men. So the best among men is Lord Krishna. So Arjuna is referring as Purushottama. Uttama Purushan. Who is Uttama Purushan? That Ishvara, that Parabrahma. That's called, so Lord Krishna is that Ishvara. Arjuna says, O Purushottama, please explain Kim Tat Brahma. What is that Brahma? Kim Adhyatmam. What is that Adhyatma? Kim Karma Purushottama. Kim Karma. What is action? Adibhutam Kim. What is Adibhutam? Adidhaivam. What is Adidhaivam? What is this? Adiyajña. Who is this? Adiyajña. Oh, Madhusudana, tell me what is all this? Prayana kale cha katam nyayosi niyatatmi. Prayana kale means prayanam means travel. Prayana kale here refers to that antima kalam. During the last breath, at the time of death, prayana kale, how the seeker, prayana kale cha katam nyayosi niyatatmabihi. How the seeker who is steadfast, who has a steady mind, how the seeker can know you at the time of death. Madhusudana, please tell me. I have this doubts now. So Arjuna is asking this question to Lord Krishna to understand the exact meaning of all these terminologies. So the entire 8th chapter is based on these 7 questions. Bhagavan is explaining all this in an exhaustive way. Slokam number 3. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Aksharam Brahma Paramam. Swabhavodhyatma Muchyate. Bhutabhavodbhavakaraha. Visarga Karma Sanchitaha. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha, Lord Krishna is saying, Aksharam Brahma Param. Brahma is Aksharam, which is, Ksharam means destroyable. Aksharam is indestructible, imperishable. Aksharam means imperishable. There is no decay to it at all. There is no change. Completely ever permanent. So this Aksharam Brahma Param. The Brahma is Aksharam Param is that supreme, ever changing, permanent is that Brahma. That supreme Brahman is imperishable. There is no destruction. It is indestructible entity, and that is called Brahma. Swabhavo adhyatma muchyate. Adhyatmam, adi atmam, the own self. Swabhavam, the nature. His essential nature is called self-knowledge. The own self, the inner self is called adhyatmam, adi atma. the Atma, the inner self, which is not different from Brahman. The Brahman and our inner self are one and the same. The Brahma expresses as Atma. So Adhyatma is the Brahma's own self. So when we do an action with our body and when we think with our mind, there is something deep within our own self which is aware of this body and this thought. That innermost self is that Adhyatmam. That innermost self which is a witness for this body and for the mind which is thinking. That is Adhyatmam. What is karma? Bhutabhavo bhavakaraha visargaha karma sanchitaha. The actions pertaining to the material aspect of all the living beings. There is a material aspect in all the living beings for its development. That material aspect is called action, which is Bhagavan's Kriya Shakti, the power of creation. So the power of that supreme is that creative power in all living beings, the material personality and its development, and that is called action. So Brahma expresses, projects in this world with all these living beings with various objects. The entire objects that we see in this universe and the entire living beings that we see in this world, it's all the Kriya Shakti of Brahman, which is that action. Slokam number 4, which talks about details. Slokam number 4. Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha purushachadi daivatam adi yajno hame vatra dehe deha bhritham varam. So Bhagavan is telling, O best of embodied souls, he is referring Arjuna as the best soul. Adi Bhuta, Adi Daiva, Adi Yajna. These three are explained now. Adi Bhuta, the basis of the physical existence. What is the basis of this physical existence? The 5 great elements. The elemental expression of the 5 great bhutas, 5 great elements. So what is the nature of these 5 elements? The nature of these 5 elements is completely contrast to Brahman. The Brahma is Aksharam. Here these 5 elements are Ksharam, which is constantly changing, which is constantly decaying. Every millisecond it keeps changing. In our body, the cells, these undergo for a change every millisecond. A cell dies and the new cell takes birth. So it's constantly changing. So what is Adi Bhutam? The 5 elements which are constantly changing and decaying. There could be infinite number of names and forms. All the living beings that you take, any being, anything, these are all ever changing and ever decaying. They are changing the forms. So Adi Bhutam is this physical existence. The basis of this physical existence is this 5 elements which undergo for constant modification, and that is the nature of these 5 elements. Swami Chinmayananda's ji says that change is the changeless law of this world. That's a changeless law. That law cannot be changed. Everything in this world is subject to constant change. Only the Parabrahman is imperishable, no change to it. So this changing world is the expression of that God, and that is Adi Bhutam. Bhavaha Purushascha Adi Daivatam. The presiding deities in each sense organs, the mind, intellect, which are all called the Devatas. the source of consciousness of that sense organs, the consciousness of what you are seeing, the consciousness of what you are hearing, consciousness of what you are smelling, consciousness of what you are tasting. All these are the Daivatam, the consciousness, the power of vision that is on your eyes, the power of audition on your ears, the power of feel in the mind. All these are the Daivatam, the consciousness. These are all the expressions of the Brahma, the reality of existence in you. And that is Adi Daivata. So Ishvara is that Adi Daivata, that cosmic person, that entire cosmic person. For example, our body, we have various cells in our body. Many of the cells are functioning independently without our interference. But who is the overall controller of this? The overall controller of this entire cells is I am. I am the controller of the entire various cells. Though they are acting independently, I am the controller of this various cells. Similarly, that one cosmic person, that Brahman, is the controller of all the thoughts and all the actions. That's called Purusha, Adi Daivatam, that powerful Sarvajñapi. Adi Yajna. Adi Yajño Hamevatra Dehe Deha Britham Varaha. Yajna here means the act of that perception, the feeling, the thought, the act of that perception. For example, if you have had an opportunity to see a fire ritual, the Pandits would be sitting around the fire ritual. They will create a square place with the brick, and they will create a Yajna Kundam like, and inside that they will offer the oblations for the fire, and the fire would be ignited, and these Pandits will decorate the bricks with rangoli, with the turmeric, and they will decorate it with garland. And after the decoration, the Pandits will start chanting the mantras. They will start chanting the mantras, and while chanting the mantras, they will offer ghee into the fire. When they offer ghee into that fire, the flame rises up. Until such time, the flame in that fire would be less. The more and more these Pandits, these Sastrigals, they offer the ghee into the fire, the flame rises up, and it dances in the air. Similarly, in our body, the senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin, they are quiet. And when the moment we offer through the sense organs, then the mind, the fire in us comes up. The eyes in us, when you offer something to these eyes, then it immediately tells the mind, and then we start liking, aha, how beautiful it is. Why? We are offering something to these eyes. And the ears, we are offering some sound to the ears. Immediately we say, how nice this wonderful sound. Why? We are offering something to this sound. So these sense organs are constantly bringing their oblations, and they are putting in us. When we see something nice, we like it. When we see something we don't like, then we started hating, saying that, screaming, I don't like this. All these are the reactions through our sense organs. So the interaction that is happening between that individual and the world outside is called Adi Yajna. The interaction between the individual and the world outside, which is the subjective yajna, and that is called Adi Yajna. So, Brahma, the supreme, Parabrahmam, imperishable, no destructions, ever changing, ever permanent is Brahma. That Brahma is in our own self, and that I consciousness, which is not different from Brahma, and that is Adi Atma, Adhyatma. The creative power which is projecting of this Brahma in this world, that creative power, the expression of Brahma, which has the power to act, Kriya Shakti, that expression of that Brahma, which is expressing on this 5 elements, Adi Bhuta. Not only the power to create the world, it's also the power to express in that world, Adi Bhuta. And Adi Daiva is the Ishvara who controls, who regulates everything in our, every being, the controller of every being and everything, all the activities of this world, which is Adi Daiva. Jiva, who is individual, who is performing an action and getting a result for that action through the interaction with the world outside, is Adi Yajna. Slokam number 5. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaf prayati samadbhavam yadi nastyatra samshayaha. Antakale. There is one more question Arjuna has raised. How do the seeker will understand you at the final time, the prayana kale? So here it is referred as antakale. Antakale, at the time of death, mameva, mam eva, this is a special word, I alone. Krishna says, at the time of death, I alone, mameva smaran kalevaram. When your kalevaram is the body, muktva, relinquish. At the time of death, if a seeker is meditating on me alone, remembering me alone, will come to me. Madbhavam yati. He comes and he attains madbhavam. He reaches me and he realizes me. He can experience me and my glory. Nastyatra samshayaha. Arjuna, there is no doubt, there is no samshayam on this. At the time of death, if a seeker is meditating on me, that seeker reaches me and he realizes me. There is no doubt. So Swamiji says, okay, looks very nice. So I will live the way I wanted to. I will do enjoy all the worldly enjoyments. At the time of death, I will think of Bhagavan, so I will straight away reach him. Swami says, it is not that easy. At the time of death, our thinking will not go to Bhagavan. Why? Because this body is withdrawing all the pranas, the eyes are slowly withdrawing, the ears are withdrawing, and everything is slowing down, and you will be aware that you are going to leave your last breath. At that time, you will be focusing on your either pain or on your desires, because you don't want to leave. You want to live. This world is so attractive, you don't want to leave. At that time, you will only be thinking, oh, I didn't say this. Oh, what will happen to my wife? What will happen to my son? What will happen to all the wealth? Oh, I did not tell to my son about the new project that I'm doing. Your mind will be thinking of all this. Your mind will fail to think about that supreme Brahman. So don't think that is easy, that at the time of death, you can think and you can go. What we are constantly practicing, and that is what we will do at the time of death. So if you want to think about about God at the time of death and reach that supreme bliss, then practice the sadhana. all the time meditate upon this God. Only then at the time of death also you will be thinking of that Bhagavan. So the sadhana alone, the trained mind alone can think of Bhagavan at the last minute, not otherwise. Slokam number 6. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhavam bhavitaha. Yam yam, whatever. Smaran bhavam, you are remembering. Tyajatyante, at the time of kalevaram, really leaving. Tyaja means giving up. At the time of giving your kalevaram, your last breath. Tam eveti, that certainly, that state, that person will get Kaunteya, the Kunti Putra. Understand this. Lord Krishna repeats and reassures, yam yam yapi, yam yam vapi, whoever, whatever that you are smaran bhavam, you are remembering at the time of leaving your body, at the last minute of your life, or this life, at the time of leaving this body, tam vaiti, that alone you will reach. Sada tad bhavama tat sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever that comes onto your thought at the last minute of your death, that is where you will go, because that is what we have been contemplating all through. That is what is the training that you have done for your mind all along. So that is where you will go. Suppose at the time of your death we are thinking about the food, the money, the position, the power, will only get into that angle and we will not get into realizing this Brahman. So Swami says, great devotee will always say to Bhagavan Krishna, give me the moksha right now, because at the time of death I do not know what will happen to me. I do not know how will I lose my breath. I do not know will I be able to talk, because the phlegm will come to my throat and will choke. My eyes may not see. I may not remember anything at the time of death. So Krishna, show me the moksham right away. That is what is great devotee, the seeker, will ask. So Lord Krishna says, at the time of death, whatever that you are thinking, that is where you will go. So if we want to get into this spiritual path, then we have to constantly train our mind to get into these directions. It's a natural law. Whatever we think, whatever we have strong conviction, and that type of life we will get in future. Whatever the object that we remember while leaving this body, that alone will reach. So Swami says, it can be GOD God, or it can be DOG dog. Whatever that you think at the time of death, Antima Kalam, the Prayana Kalam, that Antima Kalam, that you will reach. So if you want to get that attention at the end of your last breath, if you want to get into that Punya Lokam, then you have to train your mind constantly through sadhana all the time. Sadhana is training the mind, turning the attention to inward, to that Vasudeva Krishna, that meditate upon him all the time. It is just not one day do it and leave a gap of 5 days. Constantly meditating upon that Bhagavan, the final breath, final death time also, we will be Antima Kalam also, will train our mind to think and turn the attention towards Bhagavan. With this, we'll come to the end of today's session. Keeping our back straight, we'll chant Om 3 times. Om. Om. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace, peace. Salutations to our masters. Om Bolo Swami Sadguru Shivananda Maharaj ki Jai. Om Bolo Swami Vishnu Devananda Maharaj ki Jai. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thanks for joining. See you tomorrow, same time, 4 o'clock.